Here are some Get Real facts right from the headlines. Neal Communities hit its 9,000th home on the Suncoast. Lennar Homes breaks ground in Lakewood Ranch, and resales continue to be on the rise and increasing in value. Real estate is front page news these days. Many of our weekly Get Real facts are ripped from Harold Bubel's headlines. The veteran Sarasota Herald Tribune real estate editor joins me tonight as we talk about some of the hottest real estate stories on the Suncoast, from new home sales to the high-end market to the architecture at our favorite beaches. Don't go anywhere because Get Real Estate on the Suncoast starts now. Welcome to Get Real Estate on the Suncoast, the only local television show dedicated to one of the top economic drivers in our region, real estate. No one knows the real estate market better than one of the most highly respected voices in the industry. Each week, his columns focus on market trends, interesting architecture, and the latest breaking news in Suncoast real estate. From time to time, we'll have him on the show to dish with us about all that's hot or not in the world of real estate. He's also no stranger to the TV world, right, Harold?
That's no question about that. I think it was like 12 years ago. Yeah. We did a live broadcast for the opening of the Ritz-Carlton Sarasota.
We did. We were out there all day, I think, you and I.
Yes.
It was fun.
Yeah, I got sunburned. That's why I look like this. And you were in the shadows, so you still look the same as you did 12 years ago.
Come on, you look great. I love the suit.
Well, this is from Paris. I got it in a shop called Harold, of all places, on the Rue de Rivoli in downtown Paris. But
wow.
You know, I didn't realize that the shop was named Harold until they put the suit in the bag.
Really?
Yeah, because they were speaking French, and I only know enough French to embarrass myself at parties. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure.
It's great to have you on the show. Well, our goal is to talk about 5 topics with 5 minutes each on each topic.
I can't do 5 minutes.
So, we have the hook. So,
okay,
I know we could talk about this all night. Yeah, okay. We could probably talk for like 2 hours about real estate.
About the first topic. So.
Yeah. So the first topic is market trends. You recently moderated a panel out in Lakewood Ranch, and you had some pretty heavy hitters on the panel. Tell me who was there.
Well, they were what we call the usual suspects: Michael Saunders, Rex Jensen, Pat Neal, and John Tusillo, who maybe people don't know John, but he's a former National Association of Real Estate, National Association of Realtors chief economist, and he's now the chief economist for the Florida Realtors. So, but certainly Pat Neal, everybody knows him, Neal Communities, and Michael Saunders, and Rex Jensen is the CEO of Lakewood Ranch and SMR.
That's right. So the title of that panel was Boom, Bubble, or Bust.
Right, and most people thought it was a boom, except for Rex. He didn't raise his hand on any of the options. He thinks that we have a ways to go before we're back to what we would call a normal market, but. I think the market to me is kind of most boom markets are preceded by an average market.
Right.
And for this market to be preceded by the worst real estate recession since the Great Depression, I call it a real estate depression. It's kind of scary to see this kind of rapid turnaround that's obviously been helped by the Federal Reserve buying mortgage bonds and keeping those interest rates low. We're going to see those interest rates go back up now just because the Fed says we're not going to do that forever.
Right.
While the market is kind of fickle and manic, and the market hates uncertainty. So whenever we get an indication that a party is coming to an end, people start heading for the exits. It's like remember you're having a party at your house, you went into all this work and everybody's having a good time. Then one person leaves. What happens?
Where are they going?
Everybody else goes.
Right.
So that's, like Ben Bernanke says, we're not going to buy these bonds forever, and everybody goes, oh, let's raise interest rates.
That's right.
But I don't think it's going to be a huge factor in the market, or it shouldn't be, because if interest rates get back into the realm of reality and stop being like 3.5% and go to 4.5% or 5.5%, even though people are wrenching their you know, wringing their hands about that, it's still a historically very low interest rate. So I think there's other factors that play into the market above and beyond interest rates, and that's qualifying, being able to qualify for a loan, down payment requirements. Employment's always a good thing to have if you want to go get a mortgage. You know, they're really looking for jobs now that you can verify having, rather than just saying, yeah, I have a job, or I think I'm going to have a job by the time, you know.
Things have changed.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Right. It's beyond the fog of mirror qualification standards now. So, and if somebody's had like a short sale or something in their past, they have to wait at least 2 and more like 3 to 5 years before they can get a conventional loan anymore.
Right. Now, can the market sustain all of this growth and all of these sales? I know that there's been a lot of talk about a construction shortage, labor shortage. So, I mean, is this good? Is this bad? I mean, where are we as far as do you feel the recovery is concerned?
Well, I think people need to go get jobs in construction.
Yeah.
Because that seems like that's where the jobs are.
Right, and then apply for mortgages.
and then apply for a mortgage. But employment is always the key,
sure.
and that's what we have to do, is we have to get a rebound in our labor situation. And the labor market right now is really scary. I mean, I feel for the young people. I mean, when I was a kid, if I was 26 years old, I thought, oh, I'll buy a house, and I went to a mortgage broker, and they handed me some papers, and I just filled them out, and I had $2,000 or $3,000. I guess I had $3,000, and I bought a house. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But now, you know, with the student loan debt that kids are coming out of college with, it's very difficult. It's hard to rent. It's hard to buy.
It is.
You know, I was just talking to one of the young reporters in the newsroom, you know, asking her what the rental market is like, and you know, she's saying that she needs to have a roommate, and for her to move in with a bunch of other kids, she's got to worry about first and last months and security deposit and pet deposit. So it's really tough for kids now to become first-time home buyers, even though the mortgage rate environment is the best it's ever been.
Right. And so let's talk about the new home market for a second, because it seems to be on fire right now. We've got the news of Neil just hit their 9,000th home. We've got Lennar breaking ground in Lakewood Ranch. It seems like every month there's more good news about the new home market. What have you seen where that's concerned?
Well, I was at the 9,000th, and pretty soon it'll be the 9,500th, and it'll be in about 2 weeks.
Right.
And then the 10,000s will be by the end of the year. But I was at that ceremony, and I noticed that there were pickup trucks parked in the driveways in that community. I was very happy to see that, pickup trucks, because that means young families. Right. And you know, the family that bought this house there on the far left, she's extremely pregnant, may have given birth by now, I hope.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're a young family, and it's great to see them be able to, you know, they have a little baby and they have another one on the way, so it's great to see young families get in. I guess they have good jobs.
Yes,
or he does.
She's a teacher. She's hoping to be a teacher,
right?
I believe, and he's a Sarasota County firefighter. So
well, that's what we want in our economy, is jobs for the service sector and the young people that are first responders and our teachers. You know, if they can afford to buy, that's really great news.
Absolutely.
My advice. I'm very concerned about the impact of high student loan debt.
Yeah.
And so my advice for young people is to go into a field in college that's not going to cost a lot of money. You're going to be able to earn a good living without incurring a lot of debt.
Right.
So I'm not sure about getting a PhD in poetry, but maybe a nursing.
What about journalism?
Well, I'm not sure about that either, but
right.
It was good to me back in the golden era.
Yeah.
But I would say nursing in the medical field, you know, the technical fields of medicine, other than being a doctor.
Sure.
You know, which is it's just a whole different ball game. But you know, a nursing degree, I think would go a really long way. You're helping the world be a better place, and you get well compensated, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg.
So let's talk about the luxury real estate market. You've done some columns recently about the Gittler mansion. That's super expensive listing, one of the most expensive listings.
$14.9 million. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then the DeVita home in Venice. So tell me what you're finding in the luxury real estate market.
Well, luxury homes, I think there's a good supply of luxury homes in the market. I won't say there's a glut, but it just seems to me like if you want a nice home out in the Keys, you can find one. The Githler house is one of the nicest, and it has, it's unusual in that it's a south-facing home that has views of downtown Sarasota. So the way it's on a rare piece of land, that Ringling Point South Shore Drive property. So I think that's we have a stratosphere of high-end. We probably have about 10 to 15 houses priced above $10 million. You know, that's a world market that you're looking at there.
What are we looking at here? Is this the...
That's the DeVita house.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one too.
That's a 100-acre horse farm. Although they don't have horses, they just have cows. I think there's an agricultural tax benefit to having cows on your property.
Yes.
But it's one of the biggest houses. It was just a shell when they bought it, and they improved it to the point where it became one of the best houses. It's about 19,000 square feet of house. That's an outdoor kitchen. But it has some of the best fixtures and finishes of any house in the area. It's almost Ringling-esque in quality. And the garage, you could like to be told to go sleep in the garage.
Right.
Is a kind of a privilege. Yes, exactly, because it's so clean. That's the library we just saw, and then it has a multiple car garage with stacked with BMWs. That's a guest suite. That's where I aspire to live there someday in the guest suite. That's the front door. But this has really a level of fixtures and finishes that you're not likely to see in any house outside of Katazan.
And who would expect this really to be, this is in Venice. I mean,
it's in Venice, on Jackson Road in Venice. Now, it was on the market for the longest time, and it was most recently on the market at $9.9 million. And I just noticed that it's taking a little breather right now. It's not currently on the market, according to my research. We have twin Viking ovens there. That tile there was signed by the celebrity chef who says, punch it up and Emeril Lagasse, for the then owner, the late Jackie DeVita. But it's just a fabulous house. The kitchen, I think, is bigger than my current house. I think the kitchen and dining area, breakfast area, is about 1,250 square feet. There are these weathered beams in the house. I believe that's one of the kids' bathrooms. It's got lots of art. They have their own theater with a concession stand in the house.
Are the concessions free?
Well,
or do they have to pay for them?
I think Mr. DeVita had to pay for them, but I think the kids get to eat them for free. That's the master bedroom, and it's just a special property. That's her dressing room, which is huge. I can deal with that. The kitchen, her bathroom has Cheryl Wagner fixtures that are gold plated. And then there's like onyx surrounds in the tub there. From the the tiles are like from Persia or Iran, what we also known as Iran, but we used to call it Persia. So Persian tiles, it's just the best of everything in that house. Yeah.
So, you know, you're always around real estate. You've covered it for years and years, and we've had this conversation before. The homes that you like to really spend a lot of time in are ones that you enjoy personally. But talk to us a little bit about some of your favorite neighborhoods here on the Suncoast.
Well, I mean, we profile neighborhoods every week in our Saturday real estate section. So I think probably Harbor Acres is one of my favorites. I like Long Beach on the north end of Longboat Key is a favorite of mine. Laurel Park is a favorite. Amazing things are happening in Gillespie Park, of all places. I grew up in the West of the Trail neighborhood when that was kind of affordable housing. Now it's not affordable housing. So West of the Trail, I think, would be my favorite. Maybe McClellan Park or Harbor Acres. Yeah, are some of my favorites. But we have photos here. This last week in the Sunday real estate section, I did a feature. I do an occasional feature called Walkabouts, and I went all the way to Coral Gables because that was such an important neighborhood in the 1920s real estate boom. It was like the epicenter of the 1920s real estate boom. So I went there. I've been there several times and got a lot of photos from there and did my due diligence. And it's a fascinating story of how the real estate market developed in South Florida during the 1920s. We had this era of prosperity and mobility after World War I. We won that war, and you know, to the victor goes the spoils. So we were able, here's some photos here of, this is the Chinese Village in Coral Gables. So
Oh, wow.
George Merrick was this visionary. He moved to Coral Gables as a child to suburban Miami. It was really a wilderness at that time in 1899. And his father started a grapefruit plantation. And after his father died and George grew up, he decided to develop Coral Gables with this, based on the City Beautiful movement, magnificent architecture, monumental buildings, something that would really inspire people. And it was designed for the middle class. That's a statue of George Merrick right in front of City Hall.
Oh, wow.
That's inside City Hall. Every building there is inspired by architecture from around the world, and particularly Mediterranean architecture. He blended Italian and Spanish architecture and made it into this dream place. So here we're seeing the Congregational Church, which is right across from the Biltmore Hotel, and this is a basic, one of your basic estate homes there. And he also built houses for the average working person, like you see right there. He dug a canal through the limestone that comes very close to the surface there and called it the Gables Waterway. Coral Way is the main street. We've seen houses like that around Sarasota. It's more of the 1926, what we call Spanish-style houses. He called them Mediterraneans. That's an original coral stone house made of the rock. It's really oolitic limestone that they dug out of the ground and made. They called it coral rock, but it's really a limestone. This is the famous hotel, the Biltmore Hotel. Yes. That's a gated estate called Casa Mia.
Oh,
and
gorgeous architecture.
That's a Catholic church there. Yeah, it's really amazing place, and that's Coral Way, a shaded street. And when he developed it, it was very much pine flatwoods with coral stone soil. So it was a really difficult place to make anything out of, and he was very interested in landscape architecture. And he hired a landscape architect named Frank Button to plant all these trees. And now there's hardly any indication that it was a pine flatwoods. It's very lush, and it's really worth a visit if you want to go down there. Stay in the great second honeymoon spot for you and the husband.
Really?
You know, $200 or $300 a night at the Biltmore.
Oh.
You know, get a babysitter, and you will not believe your eyes.
Do you babysit?
I could do a little babysitting, I guess. Yeah, if you want to have a grandfather image for your kids. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Those are some great pictures, and we are going to have much more with Harold in just a minute. We're going to take it back a little bit more local and talk about a recent column that he did about beach architecture. So don't go anywhere. Get Real Estate on the Suncoast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Real Estate on the Suncoast. I'm joined tonight by Sarasota Herald Tribune real estate editor Harold Bubel. And we were just talking about Coral Gables and some of the beautiful architecture that you saw there. But last week in the Herald Tribune, your column talked about beautiful local beach architecture.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, you know, we're famous for our beaches.
Yes.
And we're famous for our architecture. So why not blend the two?
Love
In
it.
fact, not just residential architecture on the beach, but what we're seeing here is beach pavilions, restroom facilities that are being built by Sarasota County. We have several that are famous. This is Casperson Beach that you're seeing right there, and the first pavilion is designed by Sweet Sparkman Architects under the commission of Sarasota County, and that's the Casperson Beach Pavilion. You know, you have to raise a bathroom up off the ground now when you build on the beach because of FEMA requirements. So their challenge was to raise it up off the ground and to build a handicapped accessible ramp. So they came up with this plan to build that and make it appealing. Now what you're seeing here is some of the historic architecture that we have on the beach. This is the Nokomis Beach Pavilion by Jack West. So this shows kind of the historical precedent that we have for great architecture on the beach. This is a building, this is the new Sharky's on the Pier restaurant, also designed by Sweet Sparkman. But what you see in this photo are models of the new designs by Sweet Sparkman. That photo is of the Venice Beach Pavilion that dates to the 60s. This is the Manasota Key Pavilion by Sweet Sparkman. And you see these vertical elements that are kind of set at a slight angle. Those are representative of sea oats. And so it kind of gives you that beach atmosphere. The idea of these beach pavilions is to give people a sense of arrival, a transition space as they go from their workaday world to their car to the beach. And when they arrive at the beach, they're greeted with these very interesting pavilions that kind of put them in that festive mood. So between the Siesta Beach Pavilion by Tim Siebert, the Manasota Beach Pavilion rather the Nokomis Beach Pavilion by Jack West. Both of those date to the 1950s, and then the Venice Pavilion from the 60s. We built some very mundane buildings in the late 70s, early 80s, and as they became obsolete, John McCarthy, Director of Parks and Recreation at the time for Sarasota County, decided we need to really make a statement with our architecture on the beach, and they hired what was known as Totems Architecture at the time, now Sweet Sparkman. Todd Sweet and Jerry Sparkman, to come up with these exciting new pavilions that will kind of give people a real sense of specialness when they go to the beach. And there's a couple more under construction. One of them is at the North Jetty Park.
Okay.
They're keeping the old little fish camp there that's made out of a City of Tampa trolley car. They're keeping that. Building a new pavilion there for the bathroom facilities, and also at South Lido there'll be a new facility there as well.
Great, and if people want to see more of those photos, they are online, correct?
They're online at realestate.heraldtribune.com.
Okay.
You can see the story there, or somewhere on heraldtribune.com.
Go
to the photo galleries, you'll see the story and the photos.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Candace.
I can't believe we've already gone through all of our time.
Exactly, 20 minutes. We can do that without even trying, and I can't wait to see you next month.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to have you back. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, though, because up next we have our Get Real Answers segment with our legal guru, Casey Colburn with the ERG Law Group. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Real Estate on the Suncoast. Now we are joined by our legal guru, Casey Colburn. How are you?
I'm great.
Good to have you back on the show. We have some great questions tonight about short sales, eminent domain, lots of juicy topics. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Our first question is from Chris, so let's take a listen in.
Hi, my name is Chris from Sarasota, and I wanted to know the advantages and disadvantages to purchasing a short sale or foreclosure.
Well, there's a lot of ways to answer that question, Chris. The obvious answer for the advantage is price, and that's probably all I can say about it. You might get a great deal. There are a lot of disadvantages depending on where you're coming from. The first one is the uncertainty. There's a lot of things going on in a short sale or a foreclosure, primarily the unpredictable timeline. You really need to work with a professional that knows what they're doing in this area of law. It's a very complex and technical area of law if you're buying or if you're one of the people that's acting with a disposition or a foreclosure. They're very good short sale realtors and attorneys in town. A few that I've worked with, Joanne Kuntz has her own law firm, Nancy Cation at Cypert Meshad, and Greg Band's law firm has some very good short sale lawyers in it as well.
Okay, so definitely get an attorney involved for sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's not just the lawyers selling business to other lawyers. You really do need a lawyer
yourself
when you're working on those.
All right. Thanks, Chris, for your question. Our next question comes from Andy.
Hi, my name is Andy Miner from Bradenton, Florida. I have a question for Casey. At my property in Bradenton, I have a 7-foot piece that goes along the road on 17th Avenue. They've staked it off for sidewalks, and I've been maintaining this piece of property. So when they come put the sidewalk in, do I still need to maintain it? And what right do I have for that property once the sidewalk is in?
That's a great question, Andy, and what a great background. You know, Bradenton's really beautiful. If you haven't been up there recently, you ought to go check it out. Back to Andy's question, the right of the government to install the sidewalks, I think it's the government that's doing it, is probably not a case of government taking. It's more likely a right-of-way issue, and that will be governed by the Plat Act. Andy's residential lot is governed by a plat that a subdivision that was laid out by the original developer, and there's some language in that publicly available document that lays out the rights and obligations of the various owners and whether that 7-foot strip was actually dedicated to the public. If he's been maintaining it, you're not going to be able to have some kind of superior claim to the government or the public if it's put on the plat. Most of the time, if it's the government that's putting in the sidewalk, you're going to be obliged to maintain it. The government may maintain it. If you don't maintain it, you may be getting a visit from code enforcement. In some homeowners associations, they will maintain that area. So it really depends on the language of your plat.
All right, great. And we have time for one more question, and this one is from Trudy.
My name is Trudy Moon, and I own Aaron Energy. Casey, there's a question I'd really like to ask you. and it's about eminent domain. If my property is taken, what are my rights? That's a question I really thought it would be interesting for you to answer.
Okay, rights under the eminent domain. Specifically, eminent domain is a very narrow area of government takings. The Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution says no one may be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Eminent domain is that process by which the government takes private property, and they have to pay you just compensation for it. Get a lawyer that specializes in that area of law.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much for your questions. Very interesting stuff tonight. Thank you again for being with us. We really appreciate your insight and feedback.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, this has been Get Real Estate on the Suncoast. Join in on our conversation by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and visit our website at getrealestate-suncoast.com. If you have a Get Real question for Casey, send us a video or post it to our Facebook page, and we may use your question live on the air. Be sure to watch us next Thursday live at 7 p.m. And from all of us here at Get Real Estate on the Suncoast, thanks for joining us and have a great night.